Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Shadow from SG TCG, bringing you guys another locals at Sully's Abode. This time I'm playing starter deck 14 Luffy, which the deck revolves around mainly just buffing your cost of characters. So this is a perfect matchup into black, essentially. So it's gonna be a rough time for Lucci. So we both just open up playing our own stages. Mine buffs up all straw hats and allows me to draw a card. His is Any's lobby, so reduced 2. So I just swing for 8. He takes it just so I could apply any pressure. I don't want to put that blocker on the board yet because he could potentially KO it. But he ends up just attaching 4 on and swinging 9 at lead as well. So now I'm on my 5 Don turn. Here I'm going to play out the blocker, the Nami, just so that I don't have to take another 7k swing. But to ensure that it stays alive, I'm going to buff it here. So with leader in the stage, it buffs it up to a 5 cost. And then the event card I just played, I'm drawing a card and then I buff a character on my field by 3. So now it's an 8 cost. The only good thing about this event card, not only that I draw, but it can target any card on my field. So it doesn't have to be a straw hat card. It could be, any of my navy cards or the Sabo. So it's a great card to be able to buff anything. So here my opponent reduces it by 2 using his stage. So now it's a 6 cost. A 3 cost card is now a 6 cost. It's kind of crazy to say. But here he's trying to figure out a way to be able to get rid of this Nami. Because now it's going to, in order to get rid of it right here, you would have to, invest in Ice Age or something, which is crazy. So you just swing 7 at life. I block with the Nami. Again, that was the whole point of playing it out, was to be able to draw a card with that event and then just prevent another big swing so I don't have to chuck any of my cards in hand to the trash. And then here he ends up playing a Khalifa. He's trying to draw, he draws 2 and he's going to trash 2. At this point, now I know he's trying to filter out his hand and fill his trash with stuff that he wants to use later in the game. So he ends up chucking a Lucci, and I believe that was a E-Show. But he's really just looking for anything to do cost reduction, as far as like the Helmeppos or Surus, because he's gonna essentially need them in this matchup. So here I'm gonna swing 6 at life, and then I tap 6 to play out our Nico Robin. This Robin is great. So if I have an 8 cost on the field, it reduces a character on my opponent's side by 5, or when it attacks, it can reduce it by 5. If I would have played the Robin first and then swung, my attack would have been a 7k swing, since my leader buffs everything, and then its second part to it is if I have an 8 cost, it gets an extra 1,000. So that would have been a 7 cost or 7k swing, and he would have had to give me 2 cards or potentially take that life that he didn't take right now. So a bit of a missequence. I also was forgetting his second part of the ability. I just built the deck prior to coming in. So here he swings 6 at life. I thought about countering out, but I think I end up taking it right here. I know he's going to swing big anyway. And I get into Sanji, which is great. One of my only ways to remove stuff in the deck. And he swings 7. I end up countering with 3k, which is an Usopp and the little wizard guy. Usopp can pop, I think, a 3 and a 4 cost as long as I have a 6 cost on the field, I think. But I opted to just get rid of it. It wasn't going to be much value, since I want to establish this Nico Robin, since the Robin's going to be more useful to me than the Usopp will be. So he ends up being able to remove the Robin with Finger Pistol, which is unfortunate. And he gets the mill 2 to continue to fill the trash and hopefully find what he needs for late game. But I do have another Robin in hand, so I do opt to playing it out again. I'm trying to establish this Robin. So I'm going to swing 8 at the Khalifa. Again, if I would have played the Robin first, that would have been a 9k swing at it, but not that I need to do that to the Khalifa. You let it go anyway. but I could have had more value out of it. So Robin's an 8 cost. He's gonna have to tap stage to reduce it to 6, which is its normal cost. And now he's gonna have to figure out how to remove it even further from there, because typically that would have put it in range for finger pistol with just the stage tap. Well, he could always just swing with leader ability and bring it down to 5, so it is a simple reach. But you know, if this was anything else, like let's say I had my Sabo on the field, my not 8 cost Sabo, it would have been a 9 since I have a Don on my leader. And I have to work harder to get there. Again, my opponent's thinking hard. It's a really rough matchup for the Lucci, since you can't remove bodies as quickly as you'd like and establish bodies, because not only are mine harder to remove, but I'm also removing his bodies as they hit the field as well. I'm just not doing it as effective as Lucci would be able to do. So my main plan is just establish, raise, and keep what I can. So he swings 7. I take it. I end up getting the 8 cost Luffy, where if I have a 10 cost character, it gains rush. Itself can be a 10 cost on play, since if I attach a Don to my leader and I have stage, it's a 10, so it is able to get rush off the bat. Maybe I should have established it right away, so that way I was able to put more pressure. But I end up not. So he plays Lucci and then finger pistols a Robin again, which sucks because I was trying to establish that body the entire time. And now he has Lucci. Here, I'm gonna just play out Kuzan, which is another way that I can reduce cost. And I draw, and it gets me the event again to buff my character and draw a card. I'm gonna tap 5 and play out Sanji to remove his Lucci, just so that I could take the pressure off this next turn. Ideally, he wants it in the trash anyways to do his Gecko play, but right now I'm just trying to take pressure off. And then I buff Kuzan with this card, and it puts them to 7. And then stage buffs to Sanji, so now I have a 7 and a 6 cost on the field. So it's crazy. A 4 and a 5 are like now 3 and 1 over. For a typical Lucci play, this could have just been you know, a Helmeppo and a stage. Leader swing, stage to get rid of the Kuzan, and then a Helmeppo from the trash off Moria to get rid of the Sanji. And he would have established 5 bodies at once as well. So you're going to see that's where he's going to opt to do right now. This deck I think is gonna be like a little rogue deck. There's some alterations that I want to make to the deck because I felt like it was a little bricky. You see, I'm taking a lot of swings because I don't have a lot of counter hand. So you swing 6, I take it. You know, I would definitely drop the 2 cost event that I have in there, the Diable Jambe sword style, whatever it is, down to 2. And potentially add another Sabo for cycling out and giving my board immunity. But yeah, so here he does stage, leader swing, and then he plays a Suru out to reduce this Kuzan down. And then he plays the Moria to Spandam, and Spandam search, he finds a 2k. And then Rebecca's gonna grab Spandine, and then he's gonna do Spandine to play out a Lucci just to pop 1 body, which is nutty. Even if you would have played Helmeppo out and minus the Sanji down, it would have only put it in a 3 cost range. And Kuzan is still only a 2. So he's only able to reduce it down by 5 this turn. KOs the Kuzan, and he's gonna pass it over to me. I draw. I only have really one play here. So I play Ice Age to reduce the Gecko down to 3 cost. And then I'm going to play out the 8 cost Sabo, which allows me to KO a 5 and a 3 cost character on my opponent's side of the field, which I opt to pick Gecko and the Lucci. And then I'm going to play out... Oh, I trash stage for the requirement for Sabo. But then I'm going to play the 1 cost event. I swing first at life, though. He takes it. Again, he's just trying to find some type of removal. I swing 6 again, and he counters for 2k. And then I play this event card. I should have chose the Sabo over the Sanji. I was heavily considering on what to choose. And if I would have chose the Sabo would have been an 11 cost. And then it would have potentially stayed on the board this next turn, since he would have to use potentially 2 Ice Ages or whatever he can find to reduce an 11 cost card down to a 2, or a Brook, because a Brook gets it at 4, which is probably the highest range you can get. But I end up choosing Sanji. I chose Sanji so that I have a 9 cost. So now I have a 9 and an 8, and I opt to save the Sanji. Not save it, but to buff it so that he had to choose only 1. I really should have just, again, chose the Sabo, because it's got a better stat line at 9 compared to the Sanji. And it's way harder to remove already. I passed the turn. That's definitely one of the only misplays that I can see that I did. But again, we're just definitely making this Lucci work for everything right here. So you swing 7. He's debating on swinging 7 at the Sanji that's rested, but he ends up choosing 7 at life because it's just putting more pressure on me and taking cards out of my hand. And I counter out with 3k. I chose to counter out with the Sabo and the Suru. Probably should have opted on keeping the Sabo so that it could make my board immune instead of the Borsalino. That's the only reason why I kept Borsalino, because it costs 1 less and it'll be immune. Really wasn't thinking long term in this turn. So I guess another misplay, but either one works. Sabo would have just been more of value in the upcoming turns. So he did stage on the Sabo, which got it down to a 6 cost. And in here, he's going to tap 2 again to play out another stage to reduce it to 4 and tap 6. And here comes Brook. Brook KOs or trashes. It doesn't KO. It trashes that Sabo to the trash. And again, if I would have buffed it with the 3 cost, he wouldn't have been able to do that play. He would have had to figure out a whole different thing to do. And here is where I wish I had more reduction, because I wanted to play out the Sanji to KO the Brook so that he can't put more pressure on me next turn. But I have nothing to reduce. That wizard only buffs my character by 2 by resting itself and doing something else. I'm not too sure at the moment. And the event card only gives me 3k. And I think allows me to draw if I have an 8 or a 10 cost. So I just play the Sanji out to KO the Rebecca. That way I can at least poke at him twice without having to worry about the blocker. So, yep, I do opt to playing the Sanji, KOing the Rebecca. And I play 4 for Borsalino so that it can, I could be able to block out of something. All I need to get out of is 1 swing, because I have another 2k in hand in case he buffs up Spandam. But before the Borsalino hits the field, I swing 6 with the Sanji, and then I swing 6 with the leader. And Borsellino hits the field. Potentially, maybe poking for 5 with the with leader would have been better, and then swinging 7 with the Sanji. Because what if he took the 5k hit, and then it would have forced him to have to chuck more counter to get out of the 7, or else he'd be at 0 life. But Borsellino hits the floor. I pass it over to him. Currently, the Borsellino's at a 5, and the Sanjis are at 7 cost. Not really worth getting rid of the Borsellino here, because if he gets rid of it, he would have to use a 6 cost Brook. And then that would only leave him with 2 swings, which actually would have worked if he did it like that. Again, I only have a 2k in hand, but he doesn't know that. He only sees 3 cards in hand, which could be, a mixture of all 1ks or 2ks, or a mix of 2 and 1s. So going lethal is kind of, you're not too sure. Especially here, he swings 7 and I take it. Me being my opponent, I'm not sure what could be happening. Maybe I'm baiting him to try to go for game so that he doesn't put a blocker down or anything. Or I could potentially be bricked, which in this instance I am. I have no counter except for a 2k and a Borsellino. If he opted to do, 5 on Suru and poke for 5, it would force me to have to block or use my 2k. And then, attach 3. Span him to swing for another 5. It would require me to use the other one, and then he could just go for game with his leader. But again, 3 cards in hand, or no, I have 4. It's kind of hard to, gauge that. Because again, I could have been baiting him this whole time. So he taps stage to reduce the Sanji down to its normal 5 cost. And he still has 9 Don left. Which he could attach a Don to leader, swing 6, poke at the Sanji, or poke at life. Even if he swings at the Sanji, I'm going to counter out because I'm going to need 3 swings to get through. To ensure that I get through at least. Currently. So here, he swings 6 at the Sanji. No, he chose life. I still counter out with the 2 instead of blocking. Now it's forcing him to decide what he's going to want to do. And he ends up opting to minus the active Sanji, and he's going to tap 8 to play out the Moria. Finally mills out a Helmeppo, which he's been looking for this entire game. So he grabs Rebecca, plays the Helmeppo. Helmeppo reduces the Sanji down to a 1. Rebecca grabs Spandine. Spandine plays out, puts 3 CP to the bottom, and then it's going to play out a Lucci. The infamous Lucci play. Kind of crazy. It used to just be Rebecca, Hina, Lucci when it was Sakazuki, and now it's Gecko, Rebecca, Helmeppo, Spandine to Lucci. Oh man, how black has evolved. So here he passed his turn. He's got a blocker. I have 3 swings, potentially 4 if I decide to play out that 8-drop Luffy. But I don't know what he has, and it's probably not worth doing that because he's got 4 cards in hand. I could poke, potentially get there, but instead of doing that, I opt to splitting the Don up. I keep 2 Don separate so that I can use the event in hand. Because again, that event is 2 Don buff a character leader by 3k. And some more to it, but I only care for the 3k buff. So I buff all my characters to 1 just in case he can get something out of trigger to KO, which would be a finger pistol. So I attach 4 Don to Borsellino, and I'm going to swing with Borsellino first. Here he's going to take it. Doesn't have the counter in hand. But again, I don't know this. He's got 4. I'm just going for lethal at this point just to see if I can get it. He takes it. I'm gonna attach 3 to the Sanji, swing 9 again. Here he's gonna block, and then after the block, I'm gonna play out the longest name in the card game event card to buff my leader to 3 by 3, and that Don leaves him at 9, and I'm gonna go for lethal and win the game. And that's it. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you guys thought, and catch you on the next one.